I swapped all of my working hours in the week for reading hours. Breeze dreaming. Is that a word? Acquirements? Acquisitions, is that right? I cannot stress enough how predictable and obvious this book is. This man. So I feel like we're gonna be down to the wire. I'm living the old lady life and I'm old lady living, laughing, loving. Hello, good morning and welcome to February, which actually it is not. It is January 31st right now. But this vlog is technically starting tomorrow, but I wanted to come and give you guys a little bit of an introduction to what we're going to be doing this week, because it's a little bit different. It's kind of a part two, not really a part two. It's something that I have done before that we're doing again, and I don't know what kind of state I'm going to be in tomorrow morning. I'm probably not going to want to be on camera. So yeah, I thought we'd introduce it now and then crack on tomorrow morning. But today I am doing another installment, or I'm starting another installment of Reading Like It's My Full-Time Job, which is a vlog that I did in, I think it was August, where I swapped all of my working hours in the week for reading hours. You guys really enjoyed it, and I always intended to do a second part. It just obviously takes a little time to be able to clear 5 days where I can do nothing but read. There were a couple of reasons why we did this and why I'm doing it again. The first one is because reading is an integral part of my job. I make candles and I make content based on books. So if I'm not reading a lot, then I'm not creating a lot. So reading is integral to how I make money. And I do feel a great deal of guilt around taking hours out of the working day. And I'm self-employed, so like the working day is whatever I make it, but I feel guilty about reading when I could be doing something more productive, when realistically reading is productive. Also, last year I struggled a lot with my mental health, and that resulted in a lack of focus and being unable to read as much because I couldn't concentrate for as long. So I wanted to take the time to help to train my brain a little bit better to reading uninterrupted for periods without the buzz of everything else going on in my brain. Like, you can read for half an hour, but then you got to do this and then you got to do this, because I have to do all of my productive stuff before I can do anything restful, because otherwise my mind is always like, you got to do this next and then you got to do this, and I know you want to read right now, but you got 9 things on your to-do list that you got to get done today, so you should probably do that instead. So it was about taking all of that away and focusing on reading, clearing the time to read, extending my focus, and just all that kind of jazz. I do want to beat last time we did this, and not because it's a competition, it's about the journey, not about the destination, but because there was it was the first time I did it last time and I learned a couple of things. But also, one of the big contributing factors to my performance last time was that Brie was younger. I think she was in August. How old would she have been? Like 4 or 5 months old, and she needed constant supervision, which was constantly pulling my attention away from reading. So we don't have that now. I mean, she's just been tearing up a cushion cover in the background, but it's a cushion cover that belongs to her, so we have progress. And she does still need supervision, obviously. She's only 10 months old, but not to the degree that she did. So I'm feeling like we can do a little bit better, and we are also doing it a little bit differently this time, because in the first installment we went Monday to Friday, and because of the week that I wanted to do this in, this is essentially the last week before I go back to like candles and packing orders and all of that kind of stuff properly, because I have my Patreon bookmark sale on Friday night, which I'm already prepped for. So all I need to do is like activate that at the time. But yeah, this is the last week that I don't have all of that on as like a regular thing, because it is the beginning of the month. I couldn't do Monday to Friday because I had to like sort out my wrap up, which I obviously couldn't film until the month had ended, and all of that kind of stuff. So we're doing Wednesday to Tuesday. There's obviously the weekend in there where I'm not going to be doing this, or because I do have to go to my dad's at some point this week, we will swap a weekday with a weekend day, because I did get a little bit burnt out last time we did this as well. So I'm thinking that the fact that I will be doing like a maximum of 3 days and then a break and then 2 days will keep the momentum up a little bit. So I did go back to the last video and we read a total of 1,437 pages. The best day I think was the Tuesday, where I read 447 7 pages in a day, and the range, like the average range of pages for the week, like per day, was 230 to 260. I want to be hitting at least 300 because I know I can do it. Like 7, I do take an hour in the middle of the day, which would be like a lunch break, which is ironic because I don't actually take a lunch break normally. There will be an hour taken out of the middle of the day, so we're aiming to read for about 7 hours a day, with obviously realistic breaks. So I'll most likely be reading for 45 minutes, breaking for 15, reading for 45, and that kind of thing. But that is what we're aiming to be. But like I said, journey, not destination. It's more of an experiment than anything. So in terms of what I'm going to be reading, I feel like I'm going to be reading multiple books at once because that will also help with attention if I'm dipping between stuff. But I do know that I'm going to be starting off with at least one of the books left over from January. There are only 2, but the first one I've already started, so it feels like it makes sense to start off with this one. And that one is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. Now I do intend to potentially read a little bit of this tonight, but currently I'm 35 pages into it and it is 484 pages long. This was my December Patreon pick. It was Meg's pick, and I had to put it down because I was reading it as my secondary book with Eye of the World as my main, and it just wasn't the kind of book that I needed because my secondary book is typically what I read a couple of chapters of before bed to like settle me ready for sleep, I guess. And it was a little bit too complex for that. It was essentially just not I couldn't focus on it properly while I was tired, so I had to put it on pause. But this one is the first book in a young adult fantasy duology that is about a girl who dresses as a man to hunt to feed her village, and a boy who is the son of the Sultan. I thought he was the bastard son. He's the legitimate heir to the Sultan, and he's also an assassin, and he hates it. He doesn't want to be an assassin, but that's what he does. So I'm assuming we're gonna have a romance between them. And when I started it, because I picked it up as my secondary book because it's YA fantasy, so I expected just like an easier writing style, but it didn't have, like, the writing style didn't automatically scream young adult fantasy to me, and it seemed to be setting up like a interesting, compelling, and reasonably at least intricate world and story. So I'm really excited to get into that one, and because I probably will be reading some of this tonight, this is the only thing I'm currently reading, I will pop in tomorrow morning to let you guys know like what my starting point is, like what page we're going to be starting on. So yeah, let the experiment begin.
Check in with your heart. Inhale, rise all the way, toes out, heels in, gaze up, find some magic. Straight to your heart, sway side to side here.
Morning. I am about to begin. I've just lit a candle. I'm a little bit late, I can't lie. It is 1 minute past 9 and I'm about to crack on with We Hunt the Flame. I didn't read a whole bunch last night, and by didn't read a whole bunch I mean our starting point for the morning is page 40, so I read 5 pages in total, but for the same reason that I put it down and put it on pause, it was too much for me to read by the time I got around to it last night. I just couldn't focus on it. Can you stop kissing me today, please? The thing that held me up was making my coffee, so I'm going to caffeinate and see how much we can read of We Hunt the Flame this morning. What the fuck, my girl? Good afternoon. I thought I would pop in and touch base with you guys at this point because it is a couple of minutes past 12. So I've been doing a 40-minute sprint. I've been setting a timer on my phone for a 40-minute sprint, and then when the 40 minutes has passed, I set for a 10-minute break where I like get up, move around a little bit, stop staring at my Kindle. It's annoying because my instinct is to pick up my phone, but that's not giving me a break because I'm reading on my Kindle, so it's just swapping a screen for a different screen. But I've read 109 pages so far, which isn't too bad. And I was actually like, my plan was to read 100 pages and then switch to a different book, read 100 pages in that and switch back to kind of keep up, not keep up the pace, but you know, like to stop me from getting bored, as it'll mix up what I'm doing a little bit, like split my attention so it feels like a completely new thing. You guys know what I mean, but I'm actually really liking We Hunt the Flame, and at this point I'm still at a point where I feel like I can happily continue. I think I'm going to take my hour to eat at 12:30, so when I'm done with this 10-minute break I'll set myself up for a 20-minute sprint and then go get some food. And I think I'm also going to run the Hoover around as well to fill up the rest of that hour. Something that's really interesting about this challenge that I don't know if I enjoy, I kind of struggle with it a little bit, but it's definitely like an interesting exercise, is reframing how I spend my time outside of reading. Because when I swap my work hours for reading hours, that leaves the rest of the hours in my day to do things that I normally wouldn't have time to do at that time. Like normally I'd be running the Hoover around like just before dinner to get it done. Normally I wouldn't have been able to do yoga in the morning because I'd spend that time reading, and that it just opens up the evening to like a whole ton of things that I wouldn't normally be able to get around to do because I'd be spending that time reading. In terms of We Hunt the Flame in general, I can give you a little bit more information about it now. I am enjoying it, but I am finding some of the description and some of the writing just a little bit much in instances. Like it'll just go on and add like an extra level of description that I feel makes the book a little bit clunkier than it needs to be. That's just a very minor like criticism of it. So this is set in a world where magic has failed. The people who were in control of the magic died. I'm not sure how long like before the start of the story this happened, but since then the land has been cursed and there is this big impenetrable forest that nobody ever survives. There is like a subversion of what should be going on. So like in the area where our main female character Zafira lives, it used to be a desert, and since the magic disappeared, the land has become cold and snowy, which has allowed a lot of rot to set in as well, because the atmosphere is a lot more damp and cold than the area was intended to be. So everything's been created for this warm desert environment, and now we have very opposite weather, which is causing like decay everywhere. So our main female character Zafira is known as the Hunter, and the area of the world that she lives in, women aren't really allowed to do anything. They're not allowed any honor. So she dresses up as a boy to be able to feed the villagers around where she lives, and she's gained a lot of notoriety because of this, but nobody knows who she is, and she's very scared that if she reveals that she's a woman, then there will be like dire consequences for this. Our main male character, Nazir, is the son of the Sultan, and his mother died and handed the crown to his father instead of him. And his father, for all intents and purposes, seems to have once been a very good man, but since his mother died, his father has gradually but steadily been becoming more cruel and ruthless. So the Sultan has power over his son, and he has turned his son into an assassin, and if Nazir does not carry out his father's wishes, then he and the people around him that he cares about are punished. So Nazir does continue to assassinate people for his father, even though it makes him hate himself. The Sultan has also been dabbling in dark magic, blood magic, that shouldn't be touched. It's forbidden, and he has a witch called the Silver Witch in his employ. The Sultan is also looking for a magical artifact to further his cause, whatever his cause may be. We as the reader don't know, and so he sends the Silver Witch with an invitation for the Hunter to have the Hunter go to this mystical island to retrieve this object. Bree's dreaming. Poor baby. So the Hunter believes I can't do it while she's crying. Bree, buddy, baby girl, what are you dreaming about, sweetie pie? Oh, it's okay. There's no need to cry. You're okay. You are, I promise. Right, there we go. So the Huntress, Zafira. Jesus Christ. So the Hunter or Huntress, Zafira, believes that she's going to this island for this artifact to restore magic to the world, to end the curse upon the land and restore everything to like how it should be. And then the second part of the Sultan's plan is that he sends Nazir to the island in pursuit of Zafira, so that when she has found the artifact, he can kill her and bring it back to the Sultan instead. So that is kind of the setup for the story. That does take quite a while, I feel, to get to the point, and I'm still not not at the point where we are getting on with this mission, but it has very much taken the time to establish the setting and the characters. I don't fully understand everything about the world at this point. Hafsa Faisal has chosen to kind of embed the world building in what I feel is a reasonably naturalistic way throughout the beginning of this story. I still don't fully have a grasp of how the world works. I don't have a full grasp of the layout. There is a map, but I'm hindered by the fact that I'm reading it in Kindle form, so I won't like keep dipping back to the map and dipping back to the story because it's clunky, I guess. Maybe I should open the map up on my phone so that I can reference it easier. Oh, but yeah, I'm having a good time with it so far. The characters are definitely interesting. I think I'm slightly more interested in Nazir than Zafira up until this point, but as we've like throughout the last couple of chapters I've read, I am a little bit more drawn to her. I'm invested in the story and the world building is interesting so far. Something that I'm actually really intrigued about as well is why this book is considered young adult, because I'm 95% sure that this is a young adult fantasy. Every time I've heard this book mentioned, it is a young adult fantasy. I will say that the cover of the ebook that I'm reading has an adult cover, which makes me believe that they've either rebranded it to put it in adult fantasy, or they've done like what they did with Harry Potter, where there's like the traditional covers and then there's adult covers that they use for the adult section. So yeah, I'm gonna look that up, because in terms of the writing and the level of complexity in the world so far, I would put this on like a pretty similar level to the Daevabad series by S.H. Chakraborty. And I think Nazir is 20 and I'm not sure how old Zafira is. She's at least 17, potentially 18 on 19. So yeah, I'm gonna look into that at some point. Good afternoon, folks. I have to say I'm a sleepy one. There is something about spending all day reading that has made me ready for bed, but it is 4:59, so I'm here for the daily report. I'm still reading We Hunt the Flame. I am still absorbed. I'm really enjoying it. I think my favorite character at the moment is Altair, and I think that the pace has slowed a little bit throughout this middle portion, which is the majority of it is pretty much a journey. I'm really enjoying the character dynamics. I will say that like a lot of time was spent at the beginning of this establishing Nazir, and that's my timer going off. I do feel though like a lot of time was spent at the beginning of this really establishing Zafira and Nazir as like characters with fully fledged lives, like three-dimensional people, only for the ties that were holding them back to be cleared up really quickly for both of them within like a chapter. And that's all I really want to say without spoiling it, but like if you've read it, I feel like you'll get the gist, because I feel like there's a certain set of assumptions going into this book, and the way that the book is set up and the characters' backstories are set up puts them in a position where they would be unable to fulfill those assumptions. And then we get to a point where real quick like all of those problems just disappear and it's back to being like kind of I feel what you expect it to be. So in terms of the first day of this challenge, I feel like I've done really well, especially because I'm just reading one book, but I mean it's a testament to the book that I've been reading it for 7 hours. I did continue through the afternoon doing the 40 minutes of reading, 10 minutes break thing, and I'm now on page 315, which means that I have read 275 pages today, which I don't think is too bad. It's more than my average for the last time we did this challenge, and considering it is fantasy and I've spent a lot of the afternoon being real sleepy, I'm considering that a success. The problem that I'm having now though is that I think that I'm putting this on pause for tomorrow, because like I said, I think at the beginning I do need to go to my dad's, and I've been waiting for Curtis to clear a day to come with me because we need to pick some stuff up, and I think he's decided that that day is tomorrow, so I will check with him tonight. But I think I'm going to my dad's tomorrow, and we're also, while we're heading in that direction, I think we're going to take Brie to the beach. The issue with that being that I can't continue the book and I'm really into it, but I do think that when I pick this up again on Friday, it won't take me very long to finish it all. I mean, I have how many pages left? About 140. So yeah, it'll take me I think about half of Friday to get through that, and then I don't know where we're going from here. This is a mix of working through things I have to read and also things I'm in the mood for. So we had a little bit of a change of plans today because we, like I said, we were going to go to my dad's and take Brie to the beach at the same time, but Brie couldn't come with us because Gizmo has been for the snip yesterday, so she gets him a bit too excited wanted, which to be honest actually is the reason why he had to go for the snip in the first place. But I went to my dad's to pick up some stuff. It was just some like games and DVDs that he had that he wanted Curtis to go through to see if he wanted them. And I just casually mentioned that I don't have any tables in my house. I mean, I don't. I paid. Can you see them? You can't see any of them. I paid £60 each for these. I bought 2 of them. Look at this, was like 2 years ago max. Like, she's falling apart. So he gave me 5 tables. No, I'm not shitting you. He was just like, here's these 5 tables that I don't want, including this one that I'm about to show you, which is my new favorite possession. Like, I'm always going to be telling you about her because she is the girl of my dreams. Like, this is a 1940s Besway tea trolley that goes, I don't know if I can do it. Look at that. Tell me that that isn't amazing. This is how I know I'm old, because I get excited about furniture. We also have these 2, which I haven't decided what I'm doing with yet. A lot of these, as you can see, need sanding down, which will be my summer project. This one as well, I'm either going to repaint or strip the paint from it, but it has a drawer in the bottom. And then there's this one that I put in this corner, and I now finally have somewhere to put my fancy lamp. I think I forgot to show this to you guys, but there is like a thrifty kind of shop very close to me that has old and upcycled furniture, and I picked this up for £15. It's a brass, and it said onyx, but I'm pretty sure onyx isn't white. But it's definitely like, it's a big hefty solid lamp, which I love. And then yeah, we have some overspill of board games down there at the minute. And the other one I've already taken upstairs, which is another white painted one. There is a nice dark wood underneath, so I'm definitely going to strip the paint off that one as well. But yeah, very unexpected acquirements. Is that a word? Acquirements? Acquisitions, is that right? Acquisitions, not acquisitions. 5 very unexpected acquisitions today, but I'm very excited about them. However, I do have a live show for Priest in 2.5 hours, so I need to make food so that I'm ready in time for that as well. But I'm a bit too excited about tables right now. I don't know if I can hack it. Good morning, guys. I did myself pretty dirty last night because I stayed up until I think it was about 12:30 talking to Steph and Sandra after the Priest live show. So it is now 8:15 and I'm waking myself up. I have my coffee and I'm getting ready to go. I do have a couple of things that I need to do today. I will be doing Patreon sprints throughout the day, which means that my reading, I don't think I'll read quite as much as I read on Wednesday, but I should still get a significant amount done, and I am starting at 11 just to give me a couple of hours in the morning before they kick off, and I'll be going until like 4 or 5 o'clock. My first port of call is to finish We Hunt the Flame, which I didn't read a single page yesterday at all. So I think, did we leave it with like 140 pages left? So fingers crossed I'll have that done by around midday. No idea what we're moving on to after that though. And before any of that, I have to go and take Curtis to the garage in 10 minutes because he's having some work done on his car. So, well, he's dropping his car in and I need to go with him so that I can bring him home, and then yeah, we'll crack on with the reading. Wish me luck. I'm really excited. It wasn't hard not to read yesterday because I had stuff going on. Like, I spent a lot of time at my dad's and I spent a lot of time talking to Steph and Sandra, so obviously couldn't read then, but it was difficult in that I want to read We Hunt the Flame, so I'm really excited to get back to it, and I don't think I'm gonna have a problem like finishing that off today. It's a little bit later than I anticipated. It's bang on 2:30, but I have just finished We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal, and I really loved it. I ended up giving it 4 stars in the end because it reminded me a lot of things like Throne of Glass, and I did check and it is 100% like published as young adult. I feel like though it is more adult or new adult than a lot of the like crossover and new adult fantasy that we're seeing published these days in terms of the narrative especially. But it did have a lot of classic YA tropes that have been done so many times, but ones that I love. It had a romance plotline in there. A lot of the plot twists I just knew what they were, and then they were revealed as a plot twist and I'm like, okay, yeah, we knew that. But it wasn't, because it was done well. It didn't seem like old or tired or repetitive. It just seemed like another variation of a story that I really love. And there were a couple of things in there that did also surprise me. My favorite character is without a doubt Altair. I am obsessed with that man. I am a bit of a fan of Nazir as well though, and I like Zafira grew on me throughout the story. I have just been told as well by my patrons that the second book, We Free the Stars, is currently on a Kindle deal for 99 pence, and I was very tempted to get it, but I am actually, we've had a change of plans again, because I was supposed to be doing this vlog challenge today and tomorrow, taking Sunday off and then doing Monday and Tuesday, but I'm actually going to be going into York tomorrow now to meet up with Hannah and Jamie, so I'll be taking tomorrow off and then doing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So I am actually going to go into Waterstones because I now want a physical copy of We Hunt the Flame, and I'm going to see if they have the paperbacks of We Hunt the Flame and We Free the Stars, and if not, then I will just end up getting the Kindle one instead. I know I can order it online, but I'm very much like an opportunist when I purchase things. Like if I go into a store, if I'm looking for something and I see it in a store, I take that as a sign to be like, yes, you should buy it now. And if I don't see it, I'm like, well, it wasn't meant to be, and just like waltz out. It's stupid, I know, but you know I can't make a decision to save my life, so it's like little moments like this that really take the pressure off my brain. But yeah, thank you Meg for recommending that to me, because it was not one that I ever would have picked up. I never really wanted to read it, but I actually really enjoyed it. And it does, I know I've already compared it to Throne of Glass, but there are some plot points quite similar to Throne of Glass as well. So I think if you are a fan of Throne of Glass, then I think that you might like We Hunt the Flame. Lots of angst as well, which I loved. So the next thing that I'm going to be starting, I'm hoping to get a good chunk of the way through today. I asked my patrons to choose between two books that I was torn between reading, and they chose, it was very close actually, but they chose Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, which I very much want to read after becoming obsessed with The Love Hypothesis last month. So Ali Hazelwood writes contemporary romances that are also all STEM romances, and I have heard that all of her books tend to be, they're the same kind of story but different characters, like the very copy and paste kind of books. But I'm really not mad about it because of how much I really enjoyed The Love Hypothesis. So if that is the case, I'm going into this kind of knowing, so I don't think it's going to really detract from my enjoyment, because it's just going to be more of something that I loved. Like Love Hypothesis to me was very reminiscent of The Hating Game, and I loved it for that because I love The Hating Game. But this one in particular is about a girl who is offered to work on her dream project for NASA, but the only problem is that she has to like co-lead the project with somebody from grad school. I don't know if she hates him or whether they were like in competition in grad school, but she can think of absolutely nothing worse, and it obviously turns into a romance as well. So a little bit of a hate to love, which I love. And yeah, the day is getting on, so I'm gonna go get into it. And it is time for the day's report. As predicted, I did not do quite as well as I did on Wednesday, but we do have 232 pages for the day, which isn't too bad. Once again, going through an afternoon slump, spending my days reading really does contribute to me feeling tired as shit between like 2:30 and 5. It actually reminds me of when I used to work in an office. The afternoons were horrible. And I'm also really hungry now, so I'm gonna go make some food, work out, walk Brie, and then potentially just sleep, because that's how I feel right now. I do have a video that's going up on Sunday that I haven't even made an attempt at editing yet, and I'm going to be out tomorrow, so my options are to either do it tonight, which I don't want to, or tomorrow night, which I also don't want to because I also have the Eye of the World live show. I'll figure something out. It'll be going up Sunday. When it gets done, who knows? Probably tomorrow night, because I do leave things to the last minute. But Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, I'm currently 78 pages into it, and I didn't realize how much this book was going to be about sexism, and it's making me angry, which is obviously intentional. But our main character is a female scientist. She's a neuroscientist, and she's been invited to NASA to collaborate on this helmet to help astronauts. And because it's a helmet, she needs an engineer to work with, which is where her arch nemesis Levi Ward comes in. And the reason why she hates him so much is because he hates her, and has since grad school, where they were supposed to be working on a project together that their professor organized, and at the last minute he decided that he wasn't actually going to work on it because he didn't want to work with her, and she has absolutely no idea what he's done. Now, it was very obvious from about 25 pages into it that he's probably madly in love with her, and was annoyed that she was going to marry someone else, because her personal backstory is like Olive in the Love Hypothesis. She doesn't believe in love, and she doesn't want anybody. She wants to be alone because of past trauma, but the past trauma of this character is not family related, although it does have a little bit to do with that. It's mainly because she was going to marry this guy and found out that he was cheating on her with her best friend. So my theory from like 20 pages in is that he's always been in love with her and doesn't know how to process emotions. So it does deal with sexism quite a lot, because the main character also has a Twitter page called What Would Marie Do, because she's like obsessed with Marie Curie. It's like a kind of like a science agony aunt, where people tweet to Marie, the What Would Marie Do page. It's like, what would Marie do if this male scientist did this ridiculously obnoxious thing? And then they essentially rip the shit out of men. So yeah, that bit is making me angry, because feeding into that kind of vibe, like the boss that B has, like at the company or like government institution, is NIH, which I don't actually know what that is, but I should look it up. Her boss there is awful. Levi is seemingly being awful, and she's encountering like a lot of holdups in the research and the project. Like, her equipment hasn't arrived, her security access for the office isn't working, nobody's responding to her emails, and all kinds of things like that. So it's a frustrating read at the minute, but it is like completely intentional. I can definitely see why this is a carbon copy Love Hypothesis, and at the minute I'm not mad about it, but I am mad about the sexism. So annoyingly, I'm into another book, and I'm going to be putting it down until Sunday, but I mean, I've got 285 pages left, so I think that it's likely I'll read the entirety of this on Sunday, but it's probably all I'll read. Okay, I am about to head out. I'm a little bit late because puppy snuggles. But here is my outfit of the day. The t-shirt, the Buffy t-shirt, is from Asda. The cord shirt, I think this one is either from Nasty Gal or Boohoo, and the skirt I picked up from Matalan a couple of months ago. And then we just have tights, and I'm putting my docs on as well. So it is 9:30. I wanted to be there at 10. It's more likely going to be about 10:30. So I'm going to go get a shuffle on.
You make me wanna run away and never come back. I wish I never said I loved you, that's a damn fact. You made me wanna run over myself again. Go to hell with friends, oh. You made me wanna go away, go away. Cause all I ever did was show you love, and that was every day, every day. You made me wanna go away, go away. You made me wanna go away, go away.
Good morning. It's 8:59. I ain't looking my best today. Why are we so zoomed in? I've zoomed us in. I'm not looking my best today, but it's fine because it's Sunday. I actually wanted to spend all day in my pajamas ideally. But oh, look at this. I just got traces of mascara all over my face. Yeah, I wanted to spend all day in my pajamas, but I remembered that I have to do a workout today, and I also will need to take Brie for a walk, which I think I'm gonna do during my allocated lunch hour. So yeah, I got dressed, but that's as far as we're going. It's Sunday and I desperately need to wash my hair. It should have been washed yesterday. So I do have kind of grand plans for today. I do want to pick up an audiobook at some point because I need to deal with this. For the second time this week, I feel like I spend most of my time just picking up stuff that Brie has destroyed off the floor. Aside from, I don't know what it would be if I did pick up an audio, but aside from that, my plan is hopefully to finish Love on the Brain, or at least see how far we're gonna get. And once again, yesterday I didn't read a single page. It's weird actually how I can go, because I always think that I'll struggle not to read, because whenever I have a break or a moment, my instinct is to pick up a book. But it's also, I guess the 2 days that I've been not allowed to read have been days where I've had other stuff going on. So it's not been, like, it would have been more convenient if I did have pages to read, because I would have had to try and squeeze them in somewhere. But yeah, not a single page was read yesterday. And we're gonna see how the rest of this challenge goes, because I now have to do 3 days back to back. And speaking of, it's 9 AM, so I'm gonna go get on with that. It hasn't been very long, it's not even 10 AM yet, but I'm 120 pages into Love on the Brain, and I cannot stress enough how predictable and obvious this book is. But I also cannot stress enough how much I absolutely do not care and how much I'm loving it. And I don't know whether it's because Ali Hazelwood is extremely talented, or whether it's because Ali Hazelwood only writes the kind of romances that I enjoy, like the kind of couple pairings that I enjoy. But like, it is so similar to Love Hypothesis, even down to the fact that Levi has just worn the same shirt, which is pretty much the only type of shirt that Adam wears in the Love Hypothesis, and everything that's gonna come round later on is so obvious. Like, everything is just so obvious, but I'm enjoying it so much. I've got Snugglebug here. So cute. So yeah, I think this is definitely gonna get done today, and I'm so hyped because we're still in the setup stage where nothing's really happening. They're just dancing around each other, but I'm so hyped for this to get into like true romance territory. Brief again, but she just said that he's built like a Victorian mansion, and I feel like that's the sexiest description I've ever heard. I'm very swiftly becoming obsessed with this man. This man, oh my god. I still think I like the Love Hypothesis a little bit more than this, but it's once again we have a scene that's very similar to the Love Hypothesis, where like the love interest is squaring up against somebody. Like, I'm here for it. Ali Hazelwood writes books that are like crack. I am sad though, actually, because I looked on NetGalley, because I know a lot of US people have had the arc of her next book that's out later this year, and it's not on UK NetGalley, so I can't request it. I was gonna lift my aversion to NetGalley for the third Ali Hazelwood book, but I guess it's not meant to be. I'm just gonna have to wait. So it's 5 PM, which means that it is time for our daily status report, and I'm happy to report that today has been the best day of the challenge so far, which I feel makes a lot of sense because I was so engrossed in Love on the Brain that I flew right through it. So I did finish this about an hour ago, but instead of updating you guys then, I decided to continue on and start something new to make the most of my reading time and bring you my update now. So I obviously gave it 5 stars. I feel like it was very, very apparent that I was going to adore this. I do still like the Love Hypothesis a little bit more, but I will say that Levi is like the king of confessions of love, which I love, and I really feel like the Love Hypothesis missed out on that, but then also Love on the Brain similarly. I don't like the way Ali Hazelwood ends books, because we have the third act breakup, or I guess like the third act turbulence, and that's all very dramatic, which I love, but then the resolution of whatever goes on in the third act is kind of underwhelming, and I want that same like level of like declaration of love, confession, and all of that jazz to come at the end. While a lot of things repeat in this, and I don't necessarily mind, the antagonistic element of the story, I don't feel like is necessary to keep repeating, because it was a kind of like a similar-ish situation in this as the love hypothesis. And while it made sense in the love hypothesis, so like I kind of saw it coming, I felt like it was a little bit unnecessary in Love on the Brain. But regardless, I gave it 5 stars. Levi was a little sweetie and I really enjoyed it. I think the reason why I like the love hypothesis a little bit more, it's not too drastic or like too extreme how much more I enjoyed the love hypothesis, but I think I liked Olive's narration just a smidge more than I liked B's. But once again, nothing dramatic, still adored both of them. So I read 272 pages in that, and then I managed to read 23 pages of Death by Laura Thalassa before we hit 5. This one I had previously already started. I was already 26 pages into it, so I am now at the 50 page mark. This one is 470-ish pages, and it is my Alpha Ho Book Club book for January that I didn't quite get to. I started it, I think, on the 31st, but I didn't end up finishing it. And this one is the last book in the Four Horsemen series, which is a post-apocalyptic dystopian romance about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse that come down to Earth to bring about the end of days, and along the way they each fall in love with a human woman that kind of like tempers them. I do enjoy this series to an extent, but I do find it kind of repetitive. But I am a little bit more interested in Death because this book is going to bring the series to a close, so I'm expecting something a little bit different from it, just a smidge, than what we saw in the first 3 books. And I'm already enjoying this and Death as a character more than I enjoyed Famine, because Famine I really thought was going to be my favourite of the series, and he turned out to be my least favourite. We have 2 days left of this challenge. I keep feeling like it's already over. Like I feel like I'm running out of time to read things, but we still have 2 whole days, so I definitely think I'll get through this one. It's not the shortest book, but I know from reading the rest of the series that it is like a pretty fast-paced read. I'm also really happy that I'll be finishing a series with this as well, so I'll carry on with that in the morning. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to read that one all the way through, though I definitely think that's one that I might need to break up with something else. What that something else may be, I have absolutely no idea right now, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So I have to go because I have a wrap up going up at 6, which I proofed and scheduled this morning, but I didn't have time to make the thumbnail, so I have to go do that real quick before I can get on with the rest of my evening. So I'm going to do something now that I'm potentially going to regret. But like I said to you guys yesterday, I feel like it's not really a good idea for me to try and just read Death all the way through. It's fast paced, it's engaging, it's actually, where is it? It's suiting up to be my favourite book in the series so far. We have more plot than we've had in the past. It's kind of like the first 3 books have just been leading up to this. I'm more connected to the main character in this one than I have been in the previous 3. It's more similar to War, which is my favourite so far, than Pestilence or Famine is. And I feel like there's the most chemistry between Death and Lazarus in comparison to all of the other relationships we've seen so far. So I'm actually having quite a good time with it. But it's just, I don't feel like it's a good book to binge, because I know I'm gonna get to a point where I'm like, okay, I need to set this down for a little bit. So when it comes to that, I need something else to pick up, and I've been looking because I don't want to start a series, and ideally I could do with reading sequels. And if I'm reading sequels, there's quite a few series that I could finish if I just read the last book. But the problem is that it's 12 p.m. now, so we've got 4 hours because I haven't taken my hour out of the day for lunch yet. So we have 4 hours of today left, and then 7 hours for tomorrow left of this challenge. And based on my reading speed so far, I would need to pick something really short to be able to get it done, because if we consider my reading speed so far, I'm going to finish this tomorrow morning if I read it continuously all the way through. So, I mean, the sensible thing to do would be to pick up something that's chunky and graphic, or something that's approximately like no longer than 250 pages. I don't think a graphic, like I don't have anything thick enough that's graphic to fill the time, and I don't have anything that fits the criteria of under 250 pages. So I'm gonna read Frostheart, Rise of the World Eater by Jamie Littler, which is the final book in the Frostheart series. My theory with this is that it's a children's book. So even though it's 500 pages, it should read faster than an adult or a YA book. I hope. So this is the final book in the Frost Heart trilogy. It's like Gavin's favorite children's series, which is how I ended up with it, because he wanted to like share his love of this series with all of his friends. And while it's not my favorite children's series ever, because that's 100% Nevermore, I do really enjoy it. So this one's about a boy who lives in this snowy tundra environment, and it is forbidden to sing because there's monsters in the snow, and any kind of music summons these monsters. So this boy's parents disappeared on a pathfinding mission, and I think, is it a wayfinders? But these people are people who travel between the settlements in the snow, as they are the only people equipped. They're pathfinders. They're the only people equipped to deal with these monsters. So when Ash was very small, his parents went out on a routine mission and they never come home. So he's been raised by this Yeti called Tobu, and one day his singing gets him in trouble because he loves to sing. He has a beautiful voice, but this obviously summons monsters, so he is exiled from his community and he ends up on a crew of pathfinders and decides to set out in search of his missing parents. I really liked the end of the second book. This one has been intimidating me a little bit because as you guys know, I don't read the most children's books, and the ones that I do read, like, I'm very particular. I have to be very invested in them, and while I am very invested in this series, it's not to the degree that I'm invested in like Nevermore, and it's thick. Like, I feel like I have a tolerance threshold for things like children's books, so I don't normally read ones that are quite this long. But my theory with this obviously is that as it's a children's book, the pacing is faster, it's not as complex, so it can be read faster, and this one is also illustrated, so a lot of the pages aren't full pages. So yeah, I'm now on page 170 of Death, so I've read 120 pages of this so far this morning. I'm going to switch over to 100 pages of Frost Heart, and because I don't think that either of these two books are books that are suitable for me personally to binge, I think that, or I hope that skipping between them and them both being like pretty fast-paced, easy reads is going to mean that we can finish both of them before tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to happen, guys. And after this, I'm not going into like a standard weekly vlog. I'm going into the next installment of the Goldsborough series, so I can't, like, I ideally need these to be finished by tomorrow at 5 p.m. Good morning, guys. It is early. It is 8:15, but I need to come and fill you in on the daily report that I didn't give you guys yesterday, which the reason for that is that I ended up having to go to the pet shop. I knew that I had to go, but Curtis was going out at 4:20, so I took that opportunity to go because we needed some dry food for Brie, and we're lucky enough to have one of those pet shops that's kind of like a big warehouse that sells a whole range of pet stuff really close. So yeah, I had to go do that, which means that I owe myself 35 minutes of reading, which I'm gonna get in this morning. I do also have a list of things that I really need to do today, because while I enjoy doing this project and while I'm really enjoying, the only thing I'm not enjoying about spending 9 to 5 reading is the fact that I'm falling asleep at like 2:30 because it's not obviously like the most active thing. It's not active at all. But yeah, while I am really enjoying making this vlog, I have the world's largest to-do list, and I've done this to myself pretty much because the bookmark sale went spectacularly. Way better, not way better than I thought it was going to be, but I have very little bookmarks left, and I have, I think, approximately 180 to 200 orders right now, and while I'm doing this, they are not going out. So yesterday I was spending some of my breaks making the postage labels for them, or preparing the postage labels for them. Obviously I'm doing like less than 10 per break because there's other stuff I'm doing in those 10-minute breaks. I also don't have any videos prepared for my channel. It's Tuesday. My upload days are Thursday and Sunday. I have the footage because I have the footage from this vlog and also the footage from my next video. I don't have anything edited, and this is going to be a long vlog. And I haven't ordered Curtis's Valentine's Day present. There's Ashley's birthday present for later in the month that I need to order. And I do have time, or theoretically I should have time tomorrow. But I broke my MacBook a couple of weeks ago, and before I get on with paying off things that I owe for some of the trips that I'm taking this year, I want to get that fixed and find out how much that's going to cost. So tomorrow I'm going to be going into town to do that, and I didn't know this. I thought it would be a case of like handing over my computer, which it still might be, but I had to book an appointment obviously with an Apple tech, And after I'd done that and I was looking at their website and stuff, I found out that they said in the case of the majority of the repairs they do it while you wait. So I'm going to be hanging around there for God knows how long. And then I have my hair appointment tomorrow afternoon. So I got some stuff I need to do that I'm going to be doing in the breaks. But the reason why I'm here, the point of this update is to tell you guys about what I read yesterday. Yesterday was the best day of this challenge thus far. I read a total of 358 pages, I believe, and I'm currently up to page 280 in Death and page 120 in Frostheart. Now, I'm still dubious of whether Frostheart was the right decision for this, because I read those 120 pages in 2 sprints, and my sprints are 40 minutes. Sprints as in like sprints that I've been doing with myself that I told you guys about, not like sprints with my patrons or anything. But yeah, I read those 120 pages really quickly, but I still don't know if I'm going to get the book finished today, because I have 160 to 70 pages of Death left, and I have 360 pages of Frostheart left, which means that I'm reading approximately 430 pages today. Is that it? 530? It's a lot of pages. I'm still really enjoying Death, actually. Still the best one in the series, in my opinion. I'm really liking the sexual tension between them, and I'm enjoying just the story a little bit more. It just has a little bit more to it. In terms of Frostheart, I'm enjoying it, but as soon as I started, I remembered why this isn't my favorite children's series, and it's because it's so action based. Like, it's a kind of adventure story where they're on this quest. Like, Ash is looking to find his parents, but it very quickly becomes apparent, obviously, that they're wrapped up in something a little bit larger, or something mysterious went on when they went missing, and it becomes this like big plot to save the world, because we have the monsters and stuff in here as well, and also different settlements. There are quite a lot of like action and fight scenes, and when this book in particular started out, it started out exactly where the last one left up, which is in the middle of like a confrontation. So the first 100 pages or so of the third book is that conflict, because the second book leaves off like on the precipice of it. So it took me a little while to kind of remember exactly where we were, and we all know that like super fast-paced, super action-based books aren't my favorite, but yeah, it's proven to be a fast read, and I'm looking forward to finishing out the series. So that is where we're up to. The goal for today is just to finish both of those, and I'm gonna get an early start because of the time that I owe myself, which means that I need to start pretty much right now, so I'm gonna go get on that.
Saturday wanted to call, but I never know what to say. Taking pictures with my phone, distracting me from my brain. It's 2 p.m. You said just friends.
Okay, so we have hit the halfway point in the day. It is 12:35. I'm about to go make some food and tackle a couple of things off that to-do list, but I thought, as we're down to the wire today, I would give you guys a check-in of where I'm at so far. So in 2 sprints, so 80 minutes, I read 160 pages of Frostheart, so I'm now 292 pages into this, and this is very nearly 500 pages. It's 498. So I still have about 210-ish pages of this left, and I'm currently up to page 388 in Death. This is almost 500 pages. So this one is 481 pages. So I have about 90 pages of this left. So that's 300 pages left for when I come back at 1:30. And I have currently read today 265 pages. So I feel like we're going to be down to the wire, but I hope I can do it. Oh my God, I'm scared, guys. Right, I'm going to go eat and kind of try and rejuvenate. I might bring a coffee back with me, so that I don't hit that afternoon slump, because I need the rejuvenation. I need to feel refreshed when I return so that I can actually do this. Hello, so it is 4:45 and we've had a little bit of a change of plan because my anxiety got quite bad. So I went and took Brie for a walk. We went to the park and I thought it'd be gone around half an hour, but I saw one of the hairdressers from the salon that I go to, and her 2 dogs, so she was playing with those, and then there were 2 other dogs that turned up as well, and she was playing with those. So now we are well and truly covered in mud. She was having a grand old time playing. She got a bit muddy around the paws and then she went and threw herself in the river. So she's now, I thought she'd be knackered. She was knackered on the way home, but she's now chasing Hamilton. Well, she's playing with Hamilton. Stop it. So obviously I owe the project 90 minutes. I think I have about 80 to 90 pages left of both Death and Rise of the World Eater. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some food in the oven because Curtis is out tonight, and I'm going to make up those 90 minutes and then let you guys know how I do. I'm hoping, I don't think I can finish both of them, but I think I'm going to aim for Death first, and then if needs be, I'll let you know my page count for the day, and then I'll finish up Rise of the World Eater, which should only actually take me, I need like one more sprint, I need 40 minutes, and then I'll just include my thoughts obviously in this vlog so that we can wrap it up and not leave like 80 pages of a book left out. The fucking end. The fucking end of this book. Oh my god. Oh my god. I was not expecting that, like, at all. And after finishing Death, I currently have 18 minutes and 30 seconds left on the timer from my remaining 90 minutes. So I'm gonna take a couple of minutes to decompress, I guess, and then I'm gonna slip straight into Frostheart and see how much of that I can read. I'm gonna have like 40 pages left or something. It's gonna be really annoying. Okay, so my alarm has gone off, which technically signals the end of this vlog, and I am on page 459. So I have exactly 40 pages left. So I'm gonna finish this book, do my calculations, and then deduct 40 pages from the total, and we'll see how I did this week. I'm thinking that I did better than the last time we did this, but I'm not sure by how much. So I feel like today has 100% been a shambles in terms of this challenge, but I have now successfully finished both of the books that I was reading. So we'll start by talking through my thoughts on these. Death, my favorite book in this series. I really love this. The ending was not what I expected. I understand why people have been crying, because obviously this is my Patreon Alpha Hole book club, so I looked in the Discord to see everyone's thoughts, and quite a few people thought that this was quite sad. I'm not that gal. I will never be that gal for the most part. It's very rare that I will cry, but it was more emotional than I expected it to be. I think in terms of the horsemen as men, I'm not sure whether my favorite is Death or War. Potentially War a little bit more than Death, but Death is definitely way up there. This one had so much more plot. It involved all of the horsemen. It brought everything to a close. It had like emotion where others didn't. It feels like this, like Laura Thalassa was essentially leading up to this book, which was so good in comparison to some of the others. And I feel like Famine was just kind of like, she didn't have as much direction, I guess, with Famine as she did with the others, and I felt like it really showed. So 4 stars for this one. I really loved it, and it was a great conclusion to this series that has been very like hit or miss for me, where I gave the first one 3, second one 4, third one 2 stars, and then we're ending on a 4 star, and a very big thank you to April for gifting this one to me as well. Throughout the course of this vlog, I have been working on a spoiler video for this book as well, which is the perk that you get with my Patreon book club. But now that this series is over, there will be a video on my channel at some point in the next few weeks, which is going to be my spoilery thoughts on each of the books in this series, but as like one entire video. So keep an eye out for that if you've read this series and you're interested in that. And then the second book that I read, I sadly didn't enjoy quite as much, and that is Frostheart. I think that this is just too fast-paced and like action and adventure based, especially this installment in the series, because it's the conclusion of everything else. So like, we're not really getting to know anybody anymore. We're not like building relationships. This is more about defeating the big bad and overcoming the hatred within this world directed at like various groups of people. I love the illustrations in here, and I do think it has some like emotional and quite cute moments, but overall, you guys know it doesn't matter, because children's books, I don't read a whole ton of them, but it doesn't matter what demographic they are, it doesn't matter what genre they are. If a book is going to be very fast-paced and incredibly action-based and driven and focused on fight scenes, it's very unlikely that I'm going to enjoy it. So unfortunately, I did give this one 3 stars. If you bear in mind the fact that I am not the target audience for this, I still think it's a really good children's book, because there were moments that I enjoy. I really like the characters in here. I really like the element of found family, and I like the humor and kind of like whimsy there is within the, I guess, the character dialogue and the way that their characters are like exaggerated to create humor. I love all of that and I love the illustrations. It's just in terms of story type, it's not necessarily my favorite. And this one was a gift, obviously, from Gavin, so thank you, Gavin, for this. And I'm so happy that I've just managed to finish 2 series after reading a standalone, which is fine, standalones are fine, but also starting a series in this vlog. So let's talk through how successful this vlog was in terms of numbers. So in terms of the total pages read, this time we read a total of 1,691 pages, so I have minused the 40 pages left over from this that I didn't finish within my time limit, and that is 254 pages more than we read last time, which I'm really happy about, but thinking like it's not a substantial amount. 250 pages, it's the equivalent, well, to be fair, it's the equivalent of what I can read in a day as illustrated through this challenge that I've now done twice, because the range of pages that we typically have is for this week between 232 and 358 pages, with the exception of the best day, which is today, with 533 pages read. Now today was a little bit disjointed. I did it as like I had 90 minutes, so I read for 90 minutes instead of reading within the 90 minutes with 10-minute breaks that I have been doing throughout the week. So today was like the data was a little bit skewed, but the best day was 533 pages as opposed to 447 last time. And last time, the only reason I got to 447 pages on that day was because I was reading manga, so a lot of those were manga pages. That being said, the best day, so today versus the best day of last time, is 86 pages more, and essentially I've upped my range by quite a bit. I was reading more towards the 300 page mark, while last time I was reading a lot closer to like 240, I would say, as like a basic average. So what have I learned this time? Today especially, I've learned that having to read makes me anxious. I've had so much less anxiety throughout evenings because I'm not rushing around being like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, and then you need to try and read 100 pages of a book, because the 100 pages have been taken away. It's more of a just kind of like, not a do what you want. I've still been doing the same thing, it's just I've been relishing the things that I've been doing, been enjoying the activities themselves and the time that I'm putting into them, so I don't have this pressure of like, oh, you could do with like making sure you have 2 hours left to read tonight. I've been actually living a super boring existence in the evenings. I thought I would get so much done. I thought I'd play video games, do stuff with Curtis, watch a whole ton of TV. Actually, the shape of my evenings is that I make dinner, I watch, what are we watching at the minute? We're watching Wednesday at the minute, so I watch an episode of Wednesday while I eat. Although today I watched an episode of Euphoria, season 2, episode 5, sat down for some dramatic teenage shenanigans, and the best acting I've ever seen from Zendaya. I'm glad that she's won 2 Emmys for this show, because oh my god, was that difficult to watch. I was crying throughout the first 15 minutes of that episode. But anyway, make dinner, watch an episode or something, walk Brie, work out, shower, have a cup of tea and get in bed. That has been my evenings. I'm living the old lady life, and I'm old lady living, laughing, loving. It's been great, and I'm sad now that I have to go back to squeezing reading into my evenings, because while I don't put as much pressure on myself to read as I did, I do try and read and like carve out time to read every single day, which means that the pressure is kind of always on a day-to-day basis, which sucks. What else have I learned this week? I've learned that reading throughout the day makes you sleepy and that you're guaranteed to have an afternoon slump, which actually reminded me a lot of my days when I worked like a 9 to 5 in an office. I haven't felt slumpy like that in a while, and I normally only feel like that generally if I spend all day editing, which I rarely do, because like while videos are exporting and things like that, then I'm getting up and moving around and doing things and moving on to other tasks. So yeah, the slump was real, and I've been relying on a second cup of coffee in the afternoon to make it through. So in terms of what we've read as a whole, I'm very pleased with the progress of this week, because I read these 3 books and We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal, which I have forgot to tell you guys. The sequel, We Free the Stars, was on a daily deal. I don't know if I mentioned it in this vlog, but it was on a February deal for 99p on Kindle, and because I couldn't find the physical copies when I went into York the other day, I did end up picking that up. So I do have the sequel for that, and I do still at some point in the future want to get my hands on the physical copies, but I didn't want to, I'm in no hurry because I've already read We Hunt the Stars. We Hunt the Flame. We Hunt the Flame. obviously. So yeah, I just decided to pick that one up for 99p and I'll get a physical eventually. 4 books in their entirety, and this one 350 pages, standardly sized. These two and We Hunt the Flame were all over 450 pages, and I think actually they were all over 470 pages, so very close to 500. So while I always have grand plans when I'm making these videos, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I'll easily read like 1,000,000 books. Realistically, no, but I did read 3 almost 500-page books and a standalone romance. Very good books for this one as well. We had 1 5, 2 4s and a 3, and the 3 wasn't bad. So overall, I would call this video a rip-roaring success. So if you like this format of video, let me know down in the comments. Obviously, I can't do them super often because I've now ended up with a massive list of things that I need to do because I've been spending all my working hours reading. But yeah, I can squeeze probably at least 1 more into this year somewhere if this is something that you guys are interested in. A very different style of vlog, I feel, as well, because normally in a vlog we'll have like the books I'm reading, what I think about them, but we'll also have like b-roll of some of the work related things that I'm doing. We'll have more, I guess, lifestyle-y kind of discussions, but in a vlog like this it's pretty much just books, books, books. I actually haven't, because there's been not like, I haven't even received any mail this week, and I went out once pretty much. So it's very like book focused. But yeah, do let me know if you've enjoyed this vlog down in the comments. Next week we are going to be moving on to the next installment of Is the Goldsboro Science Fiction and Fantasy Fellowship Worth My Money, which is also going to be the penultimate installment where we're reading the books from September, October and November. I say next week, might take me longer than a week to do that one, but do stay tuned if you are at all interested. Aside from that, guys, I do hope you've enjoyed this vlog if you've made it this far, because I do feel like it's a long one. And if you have, please don't forget to like if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you're go when nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.